Hello crafty friends, welcome to today's video. Today I'm going to be making a 5x7" card made using hammered textured white cardstock, and I have a selection of dies that I'm planning on using. I've got a hexagon aperture die and I've used that to cut an aperture in this panel that's going to sit on top of here. It is 1/4 of an inch smaller all the way around. This is a new die to me. I picked it up at a charity shop and I think it's Crafter's Companion, and it cuts a flower and a leaf, but it's double-sided. So this side cuts the outline of the flower and the outline of the leaf, and this side cuts the veins of the leaf and some detail on the flower. And I've not come across a die like this before, so I'm quite excited to use it. And I've got some sentiment dies that say love you with their shadow counterparts, and this could make a Valentine's card, I think, or a love you card for any occasion. To add colour to my die cuts and the background of my aperture, I'm going to do some smushing with distress oxides. I've got picked raspberry, saltwater taffy and scattered straw, and I'm going to use my smusher. I've got a video in which I show you how to make a smusher, and I'll link that up above and in the description box. Basically, I'm going to smush some colour on my mat, add some water to turn it into a paint, and then pick it up with my smusher and do some smushing. I'm not going to dry it in between layers, I don't think. Whoops, that wasn't meant to happen, never mind. Because I want the colours to blend rather than be completely layered or separate. We can go over that bit that I just messed up. Trying to create some variation across the panel. If you want your colours to mix and mingle, then you need to use a paper that is suitable for holding wet media or taking wet media. If you use something really absorbent, the colours will stay where you put them and won't spread and mingle. This hammered white cardstock isn't technically designed for water or water-based media, but it does seem to have a bit of a coating that makes it a good handler of this kind of thing. If you want something else, if you haven't got this particular paper, any kind of watercolour paper or mixed media paper or Bristol smooth cardstock is usually quite good as well. Now I'm going to dry this with my hairdryer, and I think I'll do a bit of splattering on top to add some interest and definition. If you find you've got pools forming that you don't want, you can smush while you dry, and that will help spread out the colours a bit. And if you find your paper is starting to curl and warp, just flip it over and heat it from the back for a bit, and that will help it flatten out. If you find it's still warpy, you can pop it under a heavy book for a little while, and that will give it a good flatten. Before I do the splattering, the next stage, or the stamping, I haven't quite decided what I'm going to do yet. I'm going to colour a panel in the same way using some greens. I've got bundled sage and pine needles, some nice greens for a natural looking leafy shape, I think. So I'm just going to smush that on a smallish portion. I might even cut the sentiments out so the leaf isn't the only green thing on there, but we'll see how we get on. I'm going to put the pine needles on one side only, I think, because this is what I'm going to use to cut the veins from, so I don't need an awful lot of it. Could just splatter a little bit over here so that there's a bit of the darker green on the lighter green. I want to add some gold on this, and I'm going to use gold embossing powder. But behind the aperture, let's pick a nice spot. That looks quite nice. It's got a bit of variation, a bit of white poking through. I think I'll use one of these stamps, which looks a bit like a brush stroke. and stamp it in a few places, maybe 1, 2, 3 places, and add gold embossing powder to that. And then on the bit that I'm going to cut the flower from, let's say we do that one because that's a nice varied area. The bit that I cut the flower from, I want a bit more colour on this bit, the base of the flower. So maybe there, because it's quite solid. And then I'll pick another spot for the detail part. So let's do this bit first. Let's say we're going to take this from here and cut that off. And that way I know what I'm stamping. Okay, so we'll give that a wipe over with the cornflour to get rid of any static or greasy fingerprints. So I've got my stamp on my acrylic block and I'm gonna ink it up with Versamark. It doesn't have to be a perfect impression because it's meant to look a bit like a distressed paint swipe. There we go, that looks good, and then we'll heat it. So there it is, there's my gold embossed paint swipes. That's going to go behind there, like that, and I'm going to put a bit of craft foam in between the two to give it a bit of lift. Wondering if it needs some splatters. So I've got this stamp, which is a splatter stamp. And there's the splatters. I think they look really nice. Yep, I think that works. So I'm going to pop some craft foam behind that and get it, or behind that and get it stuck down. So that's in there, I think that looks really nice. What I'm going to do next is add some craft foam to the rest of this and then pop a little bit of paper to cover this so that it's all the same level. I'm going to cut my flower out before I do any heat embossing. That way I'll know where the heat embossing will look best. So that is the base of the flower cut out and it's quite yellow, so I'm going to go for the detail part in pink, so there's a bit of contrast between the two layers. So this is the detail part and that sits on top of there like that, and I forgot there's also this middle which has got two sides to it, so I'll cut that out. I think I'll just do this side, the bit with the holes, and I'll do it out of the yellow portion so that the centre of the flower looks like it's yellow, which is what you often find, especially with pink flowers. There we go, I think that'll look good on there. And then that will sit on there. Before I do anything else to it, I'm going to cut the leaf out. I might do a couple of leaves and see which one I prefer, or whether I want two rather than just one. So there are the two leaves and the two sets of veins. I'm going to stick the veins on the leaves so that they're complete and don't wander off anywhere. Have one leaf coming up there, or like that, to create that corner feel, maybe something like that. We'll cover up too much of the background, but we do want the flower to be the focal point, I think. So I quite like that. But now I'm thinking gold on this. Now, do I want the gold on the background peeking through, or the gold on the foreground? I think maybe on the background peeking through, and I'm thinking maybe I'll just add some gold around the middle here so it peeks out from around the middle. Yeah, let's do that. I'll give it a going over with the cornflower again, and I've got some Versamark re-inker here. I'll put a couple of spots of it there, and pick it up with my dedicated Versamark dauber and start in the middle and just work my way out up the petals. Pop that in the gold embossing powder, see what we've got. Now I can already see there's far too much up here, so I will brush off a bit because we don't want to cover up all that lovely colour that we just spent 10 minutes making. And get this, let's get it the way around and see what it looks like with that on top. Okay, go back into that. I just want to, I think, flick it towards the middle a bit. Try and make it look natural, as if it is part of the flower. Get this, pop that on. Hang on, which way around? That way. Okay, so there's a little bit of gold peeking out all the way around, so I think we'll go with that. Doesn't matter if there's little flecks on the petals, because that will give it that natural look. Now we will stick this on, and I'm only going to add glue in the centre so that the edges stick up a bit and give it a bit of texture and dimension. But we will line it up properly. We just won't add glue around the edges. And then we've got our centre. I think, to me, the flower looks as if it's opening that way. So I'm going to pop that on there. Now, I might add a little bit of extra dried marigold, just brush it on because I think it's a bit pale and it needs to pop a bit more. I might even get, let's have a think, a bit of saltwater taffy and do that side, just so it's got some dimension. And I'm going to pop some glue on the back of that. That's going to go on there, so I'm going to secure that down with some glue, again just in the middle, so the flowers can lift off the card a bit, the petals rather. I'm thinking the sentiment could go there, so we've got love and then the U with the little bit of the Y in between these two petals. So I'm thinking I might not use the shadow die, but the question is, what colour card should we cut it out of? We could do black, but I think that might be too jarring. I think if we did it out of the pink, it would get lost. I might just do it out of white card and then heat emboss it with some gold and see what that looks like. Yeah, I think that's it. That's the right colour for the sentiment. I'm just going to add that with a bit of glue. And for a final finishing touch, I'm going to add some of these green enamel dots. I might just go with the smaller size. I think the big size is too big. Hang on, that one's not got any sticky on it. Oh, I can't win today. Right, let's pop that one there. We'll put some sticky on the back of that in a minute. And there's some teeny tiny peachy pink ones here, which will work nicely with the peachy pink of the flower. And all that remains is to stick this on the card blank. Right, thank you for joining me today. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, please do leave a comment or a thumbs up, or even both, and subscribe if you'd like to see more from me. And I'll see you back here in a day or two with my next video. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.